Hi, everybody, and welcome back to the Behavior Blueprint. I am so excited to have Julia Dzafic. Am I saying it right this time? She is at Lemon Stripes on Instagram, joining us today to talk all things motherhood. Hi, I'm Mandy Grass, the family behaviorist, and these are three of my favorite little humans.
Hi, I'm on this podcast. Let's do this.
Let's do this. This is the Behavior Blueprint, where we can figure out why kids do what they do.
Is that why parents yell sometimes?
Sometimes, because parenthood is messy, behavior is complex, but with the right blueprint, we can figure it out together.
Yeah!
So you want to tell us a little bit about your family and Lemon Stripes?
Sure. I'll start with my family. So my kids, I have a daughter, Amalia, she's 8 and she's in 3rd grade. And I have my son, Luca, who's about to turn 5 and he's going to go into kindergarten next year, which is very exciting. My husband, and I live here with my husband, Anel, the 2 kids. We have a dog who's a shepherd pit mix and 11 chickens in our backyard. So we don't have 7 kids, but we do have a lot of animals.
That is a lot of animals. So I have 3 daughters and my partner has 4 sons. But my daughters are 9 in 4th grade, and then I have an 8-year-old in 2nd grade, and then I have a 4-year-old that will be 5 in June going into kindergarten. So we are in similar stages of life with our kiddos. Can you tell me a little bit about Lemon Stripes and your content and how you grew your businesses?
Sure. So I actually started as a blogger back when blogs were kind of a big thing. And I started it because I was working in the wellness world and I had a bunch of health coaching clients and I was trying to share recipes and wellness tips for them. And then I also always loved fashion, as you can't tell anymore because all I wear are fleece pullovers. But back then I got dressed up and I started sharing it online, and on Instagram wasn't even around yet. So I'd post my blog posts to Facebook and it kind of just grew and grew and grew. And then Instagram started and I was able to kind of jump on there at a really good time and grew exponentially really quickly, which was nice. And then 2 years ago, I wrote a cookbook called Garden Grown. And then the end of last year, I started a Substack called the Medicated Millennial Mom. So that's kind of my 3 content buckets now are I still write on my blog, I have my Instagram, and then I have the Substack.
That is impressive. So the real question that all of us, I think, struggle with, how do you manage all of that as a mom?
Well, working for yourself and creating content is not easy. The work isn't easy, but the hours are easy and very flexible. So kids are sick, I'm able to stay home. Something goes wrong, there's a snow day, I'm able to be with them. I'm able to set my own hours. And while that is frustrating that I might have to work late at night or early in the morning, it's definitely doable. So a lot easier than, an office job in that sense. And my husband's he owns some gyms in Connecticut and he's a personal trainer. So he has to be in person. So there has to be one of us at home. And I feel lucky that I'm able to do that.
That's awesome. As I was saying, did a deep dive on your content and I relate to it so much. So I know a lot of your content this year was around turning 40. I am 39. I turned 40 in October. So I very much relate to this.
Welcome to the club.
I know. I'm like, all right, now I'm 40. What is this going to look like? Not yet, but basically. And the other part that I loved about your content is what I call like the mother brain. So you had this video about, I call it if you give a mouse a cookie, where you're like, I went to change the load. And when I went to change the load, I noticed the bed wasn't made. So I went to make the bed and I realized I had to change the sheets. And then I realized that the comforter was upstairs and I went upstairs and there was like another basket of laundry that I then had to, like, my sister and I send Instagram reels like that back and forth all day because we're constantly talking about that. And it leaves me being like, when I binged your content, I was like, do I have anxiety? Do I have ADHD? Or am I just a mom? And that is something I'm constantly wrestling with. What are your thoughts?
Yes. I mean, it's a lot. Listen, it's a lot for anyone. And unless you're in it, you can't really explain it. For me, I definitely have anxiety. And I know that because before I started therapy and before I got medicated, I could not literally function. Like I couldn't leave my house with my kids. I couldn't be alone with my kids. It was like not okay. So I think if you know, you know, if you know, you know.
Yeah.
But it's hard. Whether or not you have a mental health issue, it's hard.
Yeah, absolutely. I post that on my Instagram stories once. I was like, I'm confused. Like, this is how do we keep track of all of this, the mental load, all of that sort of stuff. So when you were saying, you couldn't leave the house with your kids, what did that look like for you, and what sort of strategies, either in addition to or from your therapy, did you implement to kind of get over that hump?
It was hard. So when I had my daughter 8 years ago, or 8 and a half at this point, that's kind of when like I'd always grown up with anxiety, but once I had her, it really started. And I can't even explain. People always ask me, "What were you so afraid of?" I don't know. I was afraid of her getting off of her schedule and something happening that I couldn't handle. It wasn't necessarily that she was gonna get hurt or that I wouldn't be able to. I just didn't know if I would be able to
Yep.
handle something that I didn't know exactly how to do. Like,
Yep.
if we were in our home, I knew where the diapers were. I knew where I'd breastfed her. Like, I knew all the things, and if I left, I didn't, and that made me so uncomfortable that it was like I was paralyzed.
Yeah.
Um, I kind of just, like, barreled through it for the first 2 years of her life and was miserable in a lot of ways because I was just pretending to be okay when I really wasn't. Like, I could, like, barely breathe when we went out.
Yeah.
Uh, and finally, my therapist was like, "I think we need to talk about medication." It was something that I never wanted to do. It was
Right.
something that I'm a wellness girly, like,
Right.
"No, no medicine for me when possible." But, like, it was time, and it changed my life, and I felt like I was able to, like, live again, which was pretty spectacular.
Yeah, I think that that's huge. I share a lot. My 9-year-old daughter has ADHD, and we medicated when she was pretty young, and she's been an active part of that discussion. But part of the rationale was the impact on her self esteem. But I can see the difference, and we talk about it a ton, like how she feels on and off, and what that looks like, and all of those sort of things. And that really has given her an understanding of that as well. And she said one day she didn't have her medication the other day and was being particularly like squirmy, really couldn't kind of control her body. Said, I need my meds. And I was like, listen, totally. And the meds make a big difference and they make you feel better. But also, we need to recognize how our body's feeling. And if we don't have our meds, what we can do in that moment. And so, really, especially in my public school job, I work a lot on trying to blend the like therapeutic and behavioral approach, right? So, what are the
Yes.
tools that you can use and how can I reinforce you using them? And like, what are our strategies and how can I help you to utilize those in the appropriate moment? So that's been a big journey for us. So I can relate on that level for sure.
What a lucky girl you have that her mom is so involved in that way. Like, imagine when we were kids, if we had had our parent. I mean, maybe you did, but I think back when we were growing up in the '90s, it just wasn't like that. And yeah,
Well,
our kids are so lucky.
you're exactly right. So, I have a sibling with ADHD, and I think a lot of times I'll talk to parents our age, because we're both 40 now, and they'll be like, "I don't want to medicate." And listen, I'm not like, "Hey, here you go, like solve the problem," kind of thing. But I think in the 90s there was so much of like, "Here, just take that pill." And I think when it comes to anxiety, ADHD, autism, any of that, there needs to be these interventions in place in addition to the medication. And so I think hopefully as a society, we're trying to get to that place where I feel, and I think my daughter can articulate this pretty well too, that the medication helps her access the interventions.
That's
And so
incredible. Yeah.
yeah, if people choose not to medicate, totally, but you need to have some systems in place because, we talk a lot about this is how your brain works. And these are all the wonderful parts of it, but you are a disorganized hot mess. And so, what are we going to do to help you get out the door, kind of thing? I picked
Yeah.
her up from school yesterday. She's a trumpet, and the trumpet has been a journey for us because
Yeah.
we used last year we moved, and last year our school district had like every C day was a Wednesday. So that was easy, that we could manage. Now we have a rotating schedule. And so it's like a lot more difficult. And the trumpet has been on its own journey. It's been left in cars, it's been left on buses.
Poor
And I
Trump.
picked totally poor trumpet. And I picked her up from school yesterday and she was like, look, it's a backpack now. She somehow got a second strap for it. And she's like, now I will leave it less places. I was like, I love that strategy. That's so great. So
But she was able to figure that out and, like, make it work for her, and I think having a parent like you and having whatever kind of therapy she has, it's like it gives them the encouragement and, like, the independence to be able to make decisions like that, which is so cool.
Yeah, absolutely. I also saw a lot of your content around like how excited you were to be a girl mom and how your son has stolen your heart. I am a girl mom. I have three girls, but in our blended family, I now have four boys, and I can totally empathize with that shift. It's something I never thought I would have the chance in having a hand in raising boys, and so that's really exciting for me. What was that like for you?
It's funny because I actually just wrote a Substack article that's going live Monday on this exact topic. I finished it like right before we got on this call, but it was shocking to me because I also grew up with a sister. My sister and I are very, very close. We actually, nobody believes us, but we never fought growing up. Like my mom will even say, like, I don't know what I did, but you guys never fought growing up. We never fight as adults. We're just like very close. So I just assumed if I had a daughter, which I did, that I would have another daughter. So they would be close like me and my sister. And like that's what's normal in my family, right? So when I got pregnant with Luca, my son, it ended up taking us quite a while to get pregnant. So it was 4 years apart. So already I was worried about the age gap, which by the way has been amazing. But having a boy, I was like, I don't know what to do with this. Like my cousins are all girls, my sister's a girl. Like we're just a girl family. Like, what am I going to do with a boy? And my husband's like, don't worry. Like, I got this. Then he came out and I was like, oh, okay. He's mine.
Right.
A guy. He's like, I'm obsessed with him. I can't even explain it.
What's your children's dynamic with each other like? Now, do they never fight like you and your sister, or
No,
does it
no, no,
look a
no, no, no. No, no, they fight all the time. So it's actually very cute. So my daughter's 4 years older than my son, and she's very much like a caretaker, a nurturer. A good example of that is whenever we go out to dinner and have a babysitter come, he asks for her to put him to bed. So she'll help him brush his teeth, read him his bedtime stories, tuck him in, turn out the light, say goodnight, I'll see you in the morning. That whole routine she does for him, which is
nice?
amazing. And she likes to teach him things like he's very interested now in reading and she's trying to teach him how to sound out letters and words. And it's very cute to watch. It's like she's a little mommy. But
Mhm.
on the flip side, I think what he does for her is equally important because she, like me, has anxiety and she has a lot of stressors and kind of, we can both be pretty tightly wound. And he is like a comedic relief and he makes her laugh, gets her out of her head, and kind of just like makes her relax, which is a really beautiful thing to see because they get giggly together and they'll play basketball together. And um, I don't know if this has happened in your blended family, but they have such different interests
Mhm.
because of age and gender gap that they're able to learn about new things together. Like he's very into basketball. So she started playing now and she's very into musicals. She's like a theater girl. So he now knows like the words to songs in Hamilton. And it's just cool to see them like kind of opening up new worlds for each other.
Absolutely. So, my partner's kids are 16, 14, 12, and 8. He'll be 9 next week. And so then my kids are 9, 7, and 4. And so we like
Okay.
I don't know what the word like we like link the ages. But what is cool is his youngest is so used to being on the sidelines and he's rough and tumbling. He's a phenomenal athlete. But it's nice because my girls are like, let's go play pretend in the yard, and I'm the mom, and to watch them all sort of engage in that pretend play is really fun. It's not something I'd seen a ton before. So, yeah. And of course, he's like, let's go play soccer. And they're out there working together on how to kick the ball. So it's all really
Oh,
exciting.
so sweet. Yeah, it's cool to see them like teach each other about their interests, right? Because we only have our interests as parents, and then they find their own things, and then to like kind of blend them together is very cool.
Absolutely. So you mentioned your daughter has anxiety. What does that like look like in your home?
So it shows up in a lot of ways. We have decided not to like publicly discuss it just for
Totally.
her
Sure.
privacy, but it's been a journey, I'll say that.
Well, one really cool thing we do, so my daughter has ADHD, and we're a little bit more of an open book about it. And it manifests in some panic a lot, and also she can interrupt, and she's like, I just have something in my mind, I need to get out my mouth, that kind of thing. And one thing that we have found really nice for us is we have this journal that we pass back and forth. So I have a journal with my
Oh, we
nine.
do that too.
Yeah, and it's oh,
That's so funny.
it is my favorite thing. It's like a really nice. I found hers the other day. So obviously I'm divorced, and I found the journal that we had for like 2 years. We don't necessarily write in it every day, and I sat there and I was like sobbing, reading like this whole transition through our journals. It was very, very cool. What does it look like in your home?
I love that so much. I can't believe you just said that because we just started this like a couple weeks ago recently. A friend of mine's kid's therapist suggested it and she told me about it. And it has been like you said, it's like such a profound experience. And I think especially for people with anxiety or any mental health issue, like, it's sometimes easier to put it on paper than to say it to someone's face.
Mhm.
She's telling me things about things that are happening at school or her fears or her or even things like I make sure to end every single journal entry with a question. So even just trying to be positive, like, "What's making you really happy lately?" And last night she put well, we put it under each other's pillow when we've written in it,
Oh, cute.
and, she put it under my pillow when I got in bed, and she wrote 3 things that were making her happy, and 2 of them I didn't even know were happening. She was like, "My teacher at school, like, when someone's feeling sad, we do a class group hug, and it makes me so happy." And I was like, "I didn't know you do that." You know, it's just little things like that about their day that you learn that is so cool. And then she'll ask questions like, "When you were a kid, did you ever get afraid of XYZ, and how did you handle it?" And, like, it's an
Yeah,
amazing yeah, it's
that
so cool
is
that too.
yeah, so and so I will my oldest is so ADHD and anxiety can be comorbid, and I definitely see that in her, and she's also an oldest daughter, and she is like your daughter, like,
Preach.
I had this, like, breakdown last year. I was sick, and she made breakfast for her sister. She's like, "Don't worry, mom, I got it." And I felt simultaneously proud and like a terrible mom in the same moment. I was like, "But, like, I don't want you to like, this isn't your obligation," like, all of this stuff. Video just popped up of it because Lola was like, "I enjoy doing these things. I want to be independent." I'm like, "Okay, but not too independent."
Yeah.
But because of that, yeah, I will ask things like, "Tell me two good things and one not so great thing." And it's so funny. So again, we have a blended family, so there's lots of questions around that. And how are you feeling? And what do you like? And what do you dislike? And it was like a proud. It felt like a really proud mom moment because she was like, "I love." How big our family is. I love how crazy our family is. One thing I wish was better was I wish my bedtime was later. And I was like, oh, okay, well, that's what we'll go with, right?
No.
And then my 7-year-old just started doing it as well, and it's just such a great place, and it's very fun to go back and look at. The reason we started it, I saw an Instagram or TikTok of a girl in her 20s who found her journal between her and her mom and, like, kind of read through some pages, and I was like, "Oh my god, I have to do that." So yeah, we've done it for, probably, like, 2 or 3 years now with Lola.
Okay, makes me excited to hear that it stuck because I'm really hoping it sticks for us too. It's been so special.
It definitely ebbs and flows, like, there are times that, during December, I was definitely not as good about it as
Well,
normal.
yeah.
But then I just sort of, like, go back and same thing like you said, like, I give prompts and they respond to them, and it's yeah, it's really, really fun.
So sweet and such a cool way to connect. And the other rule we set that our friend had done too, I don't know if you know this, is like we don't talk about what's in the journal. So like it's a safe space where she can say things that like if she feels afraid to talk about it. And I said, unless you're like in danger or something's like really scary,
Yeah.
like talk about it.
That's a great idea. She wrote me a journal entry. So we do a lot of code words. So again, so she can sometimes interrupt or, all of that sort of stuff that comes with ADHD. And I talked to her a lot about it. We role play. And so we talked about like having a code word when that's starting to happen. So she wrote me a list one day, like, I think she wanted a code word for when she felt jealous. And she like outlined all of these different code words. And I was like,
That's so cool.
let's pick one. Because obviously, as we have young girls getting into that embarrassment factor, or how do I give her feedback non-verbally that she can implement and all of that sort of stuff.
Totally. I mean, that is what great parenting. That's amazing. I love that.
Well, I like, I have some really good moments for sure, and lots of not so great moments. Speaking of which, how do you handle, your own dysregulation, or, when you're getting overstimulated? I definitely am somebody who can tell you what to do, but I'm not always so great at implementing it. Well, how does that work for you?
Yeah. Same. I mean, I feel I feel like there's a lot of, like, unresolved things from my own childhood that I've been working through, and so a lot of the times what my kids will trigger that in me, um, and we are, like, really open about talking about feelings in our family, so I can s I'm my kids are old enough now where I can say, "Mommy is feeling really anxious. It's not because of you or anything you're doing, it's because of my feelings in my body, and I need to go take 5 minutes." And they are like,
Yeah.
"Okay." They get it now. And that's so cool about kids growing up is that they can understand things like this, and if you start talking about those things from an early age, it makes a difference. Granted, am I always that good about saying it? No, of course, sometimes I
Cool.
snap, I'm human.
Right.
But if I do snap, we really my husband and I both try to make sure we repair that. Be like, "Listen, I yelled because I was feeling overwhelmed, and what you were doing was frustrating me, but that didn't mean I had to have that reaction." And, you know
Totally.
and what's cool about doing that, you've probably seen this too with the 800 children in your house is that when you do that, they start to do that. Like sometimes like one of my kids will like get frustrated and yell or cry or something. And they'll say, you know what? I didn't need to act like that, but I was feeling overwhelmed. And it's cool to see them like mirroring that behavior.
Totally. And we work on like when you're apologizing, there's a lot of discussions around apologies or not. And I don't feel super strongly about it. And I'm sorry. What I want to focus on is in behavior analysis, we call it replacement behavior. Like, what could you have done? Like, what
Yeah.
should you have done next time? I also capacity is a big thing. I lost my mind. This was back in October about like a uniform. It was like 8 p.m. We had a puppy. Like, it had been a long
Oh,
day.
well, yes.
Like, we just added all of it on. And logically, the uniform was in the room, but I was like, "What?" And as I'm doing it, I was like, "I know that this is not right." Like, I'm going, like, I shouldn't be yelling, and like took it down a notch. But the next day, a very similar incident happened. My daughter was wearing my hat at a soccer game, and then the hat went missing. And she was like, "I'm sorry." And I was like, "You know what? It's here. You had it on 5 minutes ago." So my capacity in that moment was so much greater. And so, talking about those things, although I will say in my home, it gets a little bit overgeneralized in the sense that if anyone's grumpy, my daughter's like, "Oof, are you hungry or tired? I think you seem tired." I was like, "Okay, well, there's other reasons. Like, there's other reasons some of these
That's
things
very
happen."
funny though.
It is very funny. Another cool thing that we have recently implemented, so we've started my kids have, like, reward systems and stuff, and they're, like, a little bit on the younger side, and so with the older kids, we were trying to find something just for silly things, like not silly, but, like, let's stop putting our dishes in the sink. Let's put them all the way in the dishwasher. Let's bring our laundry down when it needs to get cleaned, all of that sort of stuff. So we started a jar, jar and a girl jar, and they're like competing. And when the jars are full, whoever fills it first gets to pick where we go with that money. So out to eat or ice cream or whatever.
Oh my God,
But
fun. I like that.
yeah, but we also started a parent jar. Really, I just had 3 jars. So I was like, I don't know, I'll do a parent jar. And it has been one of my unintended absolute favorite things because the kids will now catch when we do something well. So like for example, my partner was frustrated the other day and like took a deep breath. I was like, okay, so what we need to do is, and his son was like, dollar for the jar, dad. That was great. Or like
Awesome.
on Tuesday when it was a delay, so it was a delay, so everybody could sleep in already, and then they were all coming down and eating breakfast and getting ready for school. My partner's this really fun tradition. They have this song "Snow Day" that they play, and everybody sings this chorus. And so he put it on, and he was like, "Yes, guys," and his 12-year-old was like, "Dollar in the jar. That was a great parenting moment." And I was like, "Yes." So it's
That's
so
so
funny to like,
cute.
yeah, I was like, "You're reinforcing our good behavior. All right, I
But
like
also
that."
we kind of need that. Like you said before, you're like, we can't always be good. And like, who knows if we're being a good parent or not at the end of the day. It's nice to hear it from your own kids, probably.
Right. And, it's so easy. I don't know if you experience this as a mom, but a lot of the clients I work with and even students, we hyper focus on the 5% that wasn't great. So, like the day that I lost my mind about the uniform, like we had gone to games, we had friends over, we went out to dinner. Like, wait a second. Like, it wasn't cool, not excusing that 5%, but like, hey, I did a good job 90%.
Right.
And really trying to get us all to focus on we're doing a lot of really good things, as it
Yes.
goes.
1,000 I think that's every parent everywhere, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, well, can you tell my audience where they can find you? And I want to hear a little bit more about your different businesses and the content that you put out.
Sure. So there are 3 places where you can find me. Number 1 is where I'm focusing on the most. It's called The Medicated Millennial Mom on Substack. Some of my content is free, some is paid, so you do not have to pay to read a lot of it, which is great. I write about motherhood and kind of like the more deep topics, like a lot of things we've talked about on this call. I'm about to write about the shared journal, for example, and I just read about my kids being a boy and girl, different age gap. Then on Lemon Stripes, my Instagram page, I try to keep it pretty light and fun. And I just like to make people smile and laugh. And so I realize there's a lot of heavy things happening in the world right now. And I try to acknowledge that while also having some fun. I think we just need more fun in the world. So that's what I try to do on Instagram. And my Instagram's called Lemon Stripes. And then I also write in my blog and do a lot of like gift guides and recipes and things like that over on lemonstripes.com. So yeah, that's where you can find me.
And tell me a little bit about your cookbook. I know it came out a year or two ago. What are the recipes like? What does your cookbook look like?
Okay, so my cookbook actually sadly isn't being sold anymore. They remaindered it, which was I wrote about on Substack too. It was very sad, but we had a good 2-year run with it. It's called Garden Grown. And I post, I'm now that I was able to like get the content back to so that I own it. So I'm slowly
Yeah.
like, posting them all online now. I'll have a lot of these on my blog, but basically the content is my husband is a gardener. Here's a picture of us in my kitchen
Oh,
with a
that's
chicken.
such a photo.
My husband's a gardener, so he gives gardening tips, and then I teach you how to cook with the vegetables that he's taught you how to garden, which is very
That's
cool.
awesome. Yeah, my
Yeah.
partner is a very good gardener as well. I am not. And so last year was our first year and we moved into a new home. So we're very excited to see what we're going to grow this year. But he's very good at it. So to figure it
Well,
out.
I should send you the book because it gives basically each chapter is a different vegetable. So, like, if you have a huge tomato harvest and you're like, well, what am I supposed to do with all these
Yeah,
tomatoes? I have like 12 tomato recipes,
I
etc.
love that. That's
Yeah.
so great.
Yeah, it's
Well, I
cool.
appreciate you joining me. Tell everyone one more time where they can find you.
Sure. So on Instagram, I'm at Lemon Stripes. On Substack, I'm the Medicated Millennial Mom, and you can find me on lemonstripes.com.
All right. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
If this podcast has helped you even a little bit, leaving a review is one of the biggest ways that you can help me. It helps other parents find the show, and honestly, it helps me know what's landing for you. You can do it right now while you're listening. I would really appreciate it. For information on topics like this and many more, come back to this podcast, The Behavior Blueprint Weekly, and you can always check out my content on Instagram and TikTok at The Family Behaviorist. Thanks so much.